There are a few topics that generate more confusion to nonprofit managers than unrelated business income, or UBI. It's also one of the areas that can cause the most problems for your organization. It can cost you money in the form of taxes. It could potentially cost your tax-exempt status if not properly handled. Let's take a look at what constitutes unrelated business income and how best to handle it if your nonprofit chooses to go down this route. Hi, I'm Greg McRae, founder and CEO of Foundation Group, and welcome again to our 501c3 University channel, where we make nonprofit compliance understandable. Today, we're talking about unrelated business income, sometimes referred to as unrelated business taxable income, acronymed as UBI or UBTI. Now, the IRS defines UBI as income from a trade or business that is regularly carried on by an exempt organization and that is not substantially related to the performance of the organization or its exempt purpose or function, except that the organization uses the profits derived from this activity. You've heard me say this before, and that's that the IRS is really bad when it comes to making definitions in plain English. A better way to say it is this: unrelated business income is money generated from an ongoing activity of your nonprofit when that activity is not directly related to the organization's exempt purpose. That's a bit more understandable. But here's the thing, while I prefer my paraphrase definition, there are some key phrases in that official IRS definition that are worth pointing out and expanding upon. The first one is the phrase income from a trade or business. Nonprofits often have a variety of income sources, including donations, revenue generated from program activity, maybe even investment income. Unrelated business income is income generated by a commercial equivalent activity, meaning your organization is providing goods or services in a commercial or business-like manner. The next important phrase is regularly carried on. Now, this distinction is important, especially when you compare it with a short-term fundraiser. To be classified as unrelated business income, the selling of goods or services must be an ongoing activity, and it doesn't have to be a year-round activity to tip the income into UBI territory. If this is sales that are a regular fixture of the nonprofit, occupying a significant part of your calendar, then it probably satisfies the term regularly carried on. Did you ever wonder why the Girl Scouts only sell their cookies a few weeks each spring? Well, they could make a lot more money if they were available year-round, right? But selling cookies is not a charitable purpose. To do so continually as a tax-exempt charity would put the Girl Scouts in a competitive advantage over other cookie producers. Therefore, they do it as a short-term fundraiser, not year-round, which would be UBI. The third important phrase in the IRS definition is not substantially related to the organization's purpose. Now, this is ultimately what it comes down to. I just mentioned that selling cookies is not a charitable purpose. Well, continuing with our Girl Scouts example, the purpose of the Girl Scouts is fundamentally educational. Selling cookies is a commercial activity with no charitable outcomes, despite what your sweet tooth has to say about it. And beyond the cash generated, cookie sales do not directly further the educational mission of the Girl Scouts. So we've established that to be considered unrelated business income, a nonprofit must be generating revenue from an activity that is 1, a trade or business, and that is 2, a regular ongoing activity, and 3, does not directly further the organization's exempt purpose. So let's look at some examples to see how this works in real life. A community performing arts nonprofit charges admission to its productions. The stated purpose of the organization is to promote the performing arts to their community and to teach performance arts to the participants. The nonprofit conducts quarterly plays and recitals for the public, charging $10 per attendee. Tickets are available at least 45 days prior to each event. So is this UBI? First, let's consider whether it's a trade or business activity. Well, it is sales activity. Tickets are being sold to the public, so yes, it is a trade or business activity. Next, is it regularly carried on? Yes, it is. Even though tickets are not for sale all year long, tickets are available for about half the year in total, so 2 markers of UBI are true. Finally, is it substantially unrelated to the purpose? No, it isn't. It's directly related to the purpose. The nonprofit's purpose is arts promotion, education, and appreciation. Selling tickets to the public to see this arts expression is fully related to the nonprofit's charitable purpose, making the ticket sales non-taxable program revenue, not unrelated business income. Our second example is a church that owns a vacant corner lot next to its main facility. Well, after studying traffic patterns and demographics, The church's leadership determines that this would be a great place for a convenience store and a gas station, and it proceeds to build exactly that and open for business. Well, the store provides a much-needed cash infusion supplement to the various charitable programs the church conducts. Okay, this is an extreme and pretty unlikely example, but I think you see where this is going. Let's again look at the big three. Is this a trade or business? Clearly. Is it regularly carried on? Well, you have to assume it is, right? And finally, is it substantially unrelated to the church's mission? Absolutely. Maybe the patrons pray harder when they see the price of gas, but obviously there's no charitable religious purpose in running a corner market. So in this example, it is unrelated business income. If you've seen enough of our videos, you've probably already guessed that there are exceptions. Well, there always is. The first one is rental income. If a 501c3 organization, for example, owns a piece of property, could be land, could be a building, and rents that property to a tenant, in general, that revenue stream is not considered unrelated business income. Yes, it is commercial in nature, and yes, it is ongoing. And finally, it's usually not going to be related to their exempt purpose, so isn't it UBI? Sounds like 3 strikes you're out, doesn't it? The reason rental income isn't usually tagged as UBI has less to do with any rules governing nonprofits and has a lot more to do with how rental income is considered by the IRS in general. Rental income usually falls into the category called passive income, as opposed to the active operation of a business. As such, the IRS specifically carves out rental income as a UBI exception. Now, I won't go into the weeds on this, but this carve-out is not absolute. Rental income with a mortgage on it may be UBI producing. This stuff's complicated, so get with us if you need help. Another exception is a commercial service provided for the convenience of members, not the public at large. Now, a good example of this might be a college that has an on-campus restaurant or coffee shop. Because it's mainly for the convenience of students, it's not unrelated business income. One more exception we'll mention, and there are others, is some gaming activities. Games of chance, gambling, it's often used as a fundraising tool by some nonprofits. And while it obviously looks like UBI, the IRS allows it to be considered tax-free revenue, assuming it's legal where it's being conducted and it's being conducted by a social or recreational group, such as a 501c7. Charities that conduct gaming will almost certainly have to limit it to the occasional fundraiser. So, now that we've defined what unrelated business income is, what do you do with it? Well, you certainly have to pay taxes on it. The IRS requires that nonprofits that generate UBI maintain 2 sets of books and to segregate all income and expense activity between charitable and commercial. Of course, any net profits from the UBI activity should support the charitable mission. Just remember to keep enough money in the UBI account to pay any federal corporate income tax on your profits. You'll have to prepare IRS Form 990T to report the taxable earnings and pay taxes on it, even if all the profits go toward the benefit of the charitable programs. UBI should also be limited. The IRS expects nonprofits to be exclusively about their approved mission. Now, insubstantial deviations from that are fine, including unrelated business income. But when it becomes substantial, you risk not really being a charity anymore. Too much UBI can result in the loss of tax exemption by undermining the organization's exclusive purpose. So how much is too much? In typical IRS fashion, they really don't say in concrete terms where the line is drawn. But in our many years of experience, we're kind of settled on the idea that 20% of income and activity is about the upper limit of what the IRS will tolerate. Now, you probably want to make it less than that, or maybe even none at all. So, are there alternatives to these setups that wouldn't be considered UBI? Yes, including wholly owned taxable subsidiaries, but that's complicated too, and it's really its own topic, and we'll handle that in another video. This one's already long enough. More and more, nonprofits are looking for new and creative ways to generate sustainable revenue, and now more than ever, some are considering non-charitable revenue ideas. Just remember, while it is legal, it is also taxable, it is complicated, and too much of it can cause major headaches. Most small nonprofits should probably steer clear of UBI. The revenue potential is probably too small to offset the compliance concerns, plus it's a distraction from your real mission. If you can't resist the idea, know what you're getting into and make sure you have a good team on your side like Foundation Group helping you figure it all out. Well, that's it for now. Go serve your community. Hey, do me a favor and don't navigate away just yet. We would really appreciate it if you would click the like button, as it really helps get our content recommended to more people. Subscribe if you haven't already, as we have great content coming your way on a regular basis. Finally, you can click the little bell icon to be notified of new content when we post it. To learn more about Foundation Group, you can always visit us on the web at www.501c3.org. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.